What's up, everybody? This is Michael, Grasshopper Lawn Care. I'm making a video today about my equipment. I've been having some people asking me to make videos about them, so I'm just going to show y'all what equipment I run, talk about it, how I like it. Yeah, so let's get into it. I guess to start, I've been mowing for about 18 years, 18-ish, maybe 17, maybe 19, who knows. But yeah, so I've been in the business quite a long time. I've been mowing for myself personally. This is my 4th year of me having a business, and it's just me. I'm just a one-man crew, so I do everything and take care of all my clients and do landscaping and all that kinds of stuff. So kind of try to do everything I can. So just tell you a little bit about me and I guess what kind of equipment I like. So I have an Exmark turf tracer. It's a 48-inch, and anybody familiar with the mowing business, you're gonna know what lawnmower this is. And if you've ever seen somebody mowing, probably like a 90% chance this is what they were mowing on. I love this lawnmower. It works really, really well. I've had it 4 years. I bought it brand new. It was about $9,500, and it was worth every penny. It's made me way more money than that. It's got 652 hours on it, and I change the oil on this thing about every 50 hours. Exmark calls. Some people say it depends on who you ask. Some people say Exmark says to change oil every 100 hours. Other people say 50. I shoot for 50 hours. I don't always make it, but 50-60 hours is about as much as I ever want to run this thing without changing the oil. Like I said, I've had it 4 years. The only problems I've ever had with it is changing the battery, and that's obviously not, I don't even think you could consider that a problem. Those batteries got to be changed every couple of years. That's just how it goes. As you can see, it's dirty. I'm just, right after I make this video, I'm going to clean all my equipment, sharpen my blades, clean my trailer out. But I figured I'd make this video before I did all that, so you guys can kind of see the grime and the wear and tear on it, and it don't all look so pretty. I've had to replace one tire on it so far. I got a hole in the sidewall. Other than that, I've plugged the tires, but I've never had any issues with those. As you can see, I added a little bag to it. It helps when you put like a bag or something here. You can throw trash in it, keep a water bottle in it, anything like that. I got the Velky on here. Some people call those sulkies, some people call them Velkies, some people call them Belkies, whatever. I got one. That's what you stand on when you're mowing. And I've gotten really used to this thing. I really like it. And out of all the styles of Velkies, the 2 wheels are my favorite. Obviously, I keep it greased up. I keep fresh oil in it. I'll take, actually today, this is gonna be dirty. I'm gonna replace that air filter. Yeah, you can see it's real dirty. Put a nice new air filter in there. But yeah, I love this lawnmower. If you're starting off just with a small company, this is the kind of lawnmower you want. You either want this or a stand-on. You can get a 0-turn, but these are a lot more versatile as far as mowing hills and mowing inclines. They go faster than 0-turns, so a little more efficient when you get used to them. But yeah, if I was a one-man, well, I am a one-man, but if I was only going to get one lawnmower forever, this would be the one, because it's just so much more versatile. And these are even better, in my opinion, than the stand-ons, because the stand-ons, you're a little closer when you stand, on next to the machine. You'll be standing with your hip right up to it like this, and it actually makes it so you can't get as deep under trees. So if you imagine there's a tree right here real low, this deck can go really far under that tree, whereas a stand-on won't be able to go as far, and then a 0-turn, you're not going in there. You're going to scratch your face all up. But yeah, these are the most versatile lawnmowers if you're only going to have one. And these are generally the best thing to start with, because like I said, they can do hills and they can just do everything. 48s are good for getting into gates. Most of my customers, I can fit in all their gates. There's only a few customers I actually have to push mow, and we'll go over my push mower here in a minute. But I think that's about all I can say about this thing. I mean, it's a great lawnmower. Exmark, you know, is the Cadillac of these things. Exmark and Kubota and Grasshopper, can't go wrong with any of those. You know, I've seen people running a lot of the Toros recently. What else have I seen? I mean, you see Skags, of course, and I think all those are good lawnmowers, but I really only have experience with Exmark. I've been on some Skags and they're all right, but Exmark has always been the rider I ride on. All right, here's my trailer. You know, I got this thing for my string. So everything in my trailer you're gonna see is probably, I guess you could say, like, I don't know, just kind of rigged up. Like, I don't have any, you know, real professional like weed eater holders. My backpack blower is just a bicycle rack, and that was all stuff that I just, my first year in business, you know, I didn't have a ton of money, so I just made this stuff. I made this thing out of plywood. You know, I got some hinges back there, and this is just a piece of plastic pipe that I put my string on, and I've used it now for 4 years, and until it breaks, I don't have any want or need to replace it. Same thing with like the weed eaters. All I did here for my weed eater holder was I just put some 2x4s up, and I got some cheap $2 clamps at Home Depot, and I just literally just screwed the clamps into the board. And it holds my weed eater. I've never had an issue with it falling out. As you can see, this one, I don't even have it clamped. It just sits in there, that's screwed open. And just being like that, I've never had it fall. I've never had any issues with it. So you don't always gotta get those big expensive racks. Which I will say, those big expensive racks are cool, don't get me wrong, and they're nice, and you can lock them. And I mean, if your trailer's not enclosed, you definitely want to get a rack that you can lock and everything. But if you have an enclosed trailer like me, something like that does just great. Same thing with like the weed eater hanger, or the blower hanger. Like I said, this is just a bike rack hanger. I don't know, it's probably $2 or $3, and the blower hangs on there perfect. And I just, you know, barely strap that cord around there to keep the nozzle out of the way. All right, so for a weed eater, I have a Echo. It's a SRM 2620. I got this Echo at the beginning of my season, so I've been weed eating with it for about 2 months. I'd say about, I don't know, 20-30 hours of weed eating with it so far, maybe less. I love it. This is the first Echo I've ever had. I guess you could say this is more of a commercial Echo. This thing is great. I cannot complain about it. I'm gonna go ahead and get it off of here. There's really nothing bad I can say about this thing. If you're coming from steel weed eaters, the head spins counterclockwise to the steel, so that's something you kind of got to get used to. But other than that, they have just as much power. They perform just as well. And in my opinion, they're better now. Darwin's grip, if you're going to be weed eating all the time, you need to get yourself one of these Darwin's grips. When I first tried it, I actually have a video on my channel. When I first tried it, I did not like it. It took me probably about 2 weeks of weed eating with it, and I fell in love with it. And I played with the position of it, you know, played with the position of this handle, moving it up and down, side to side, and finally got it positioned to where I really like it. And now that I have that grip, I will never ever be able to weed eat without a grip. So yeah, Echo SRM 2620, great weed eater. I have another weed eater in here, don't mind the mess, and it's a steel. And I mean, this is a good weed eater. I bought this weed eater brand new, just like the Echo, and I mean, it did good. It's a FS91R, and it did really good. Like I said, I had it for about 3 years. I probably need to come through and just clean it and try to get it running again. But it died on me one day, and you know, I was in the middle of working, so, and it was in the middle of the season, so I just went out and bought another one, as you do. I didn't have time to fix it, and I kind of just put it to the side. So I went out and bought a brand new FS91R at the end of my last season, and after a couple yards and a couple properties, I went to use it at the beginning of this season, and even last season the thing had just been running bad, and like I said, I bought it brand new. And at the beginning of this season, I had days where I could not start the weed eater. I'd crank start it about 20 times to get it going. So obviously there's probably an issue with the carb or something, but being a brand new weed eater, I'm talking brand spanking new, the thing probably had less than 8 hours of actual work on it. It really put a bad taste in my mouth with steel stuff. I opened it up, and a lot of the stuff that was metal had been turned plastic. You could just tell they were cheapening up on parts on these things, and they're charging, you know, $600–700 a weed eater. So I actually took that back to the dealership, and they didn't want to refund me or anything, so I just left it. I just left it laying on the show floor of the dealership. I was pretty peeved about that, and then I went out and got the Echo. I'll say, if you run these weed eaters, get you one of these. Oh, that's wrong. You want to get you a head that has a metal bump stock on it, so that plastic head doesn't wear out super quick. Like on my Echo here, I ordered one. I don't have one yet, but you can get you a head. It has a little piece of metal here. Of course, if you want to, you could glue like a washer or something, but I'm too lazy to do that. And that'll make that head last a lot longer. You can even see I've only been using this thing a couple months, and that head's already worn pretty good. Which, I mean, you expect that. You're hitting that plastic on concrete and stuff to get the strength feeding out, so that's just the way it works. But yeah, love my Echo weed eater. I think I'm switching up. Well, I know I'm switching over to Echo now. Especially in my area here in Kentucky, I'm starting to see more people use the Echoes and less people use the Steels. I think that the Steels are just, their quality's going downhill. They've had such a grip on the lawn care industry for a long time with their blowers and weed eaters, and it's my opinion they're starting to get lazy and starting to make stuff worse. Meanwhile, you got Echo making great stuff, coming in at a good price point, and I got a better warranty, I'll tell you that. Alright, here's my blower. Of course, right after I just got done ripping on steel. I've had this blower for 4 years. It's been great. It's BR 700. But again, when this thing does go out, inevitably, I'm just going to get me an Echo blower, because I don't have faith in the steel stuff anymore. I think, like I said, they've really cheapened up on quality, and until, you know, I see some improvements or something, I'm not going to buy any more steel stuff. So there's nothing in, I mean, this thing doesn't have any issues. Even as you can see, since I've kept it in my trailer, these things always wear out. Even this is in perfect condition, and it's 4 years old, so I could see myself getting a couple more years out of this blower. If you can find one of these older steel blowers, they'll work great, and you can go in and would do whatever little maintenance you need to on them, and they're going to work good for you. I can't speak on the new ones, because this one's about 4 or 5 years old, but the brand new ones, I have no idea. I have an Echo Edger. I do not use this thing very often. I have a couple properties where it's like a mile of sidewalk. That's the only time I use my Edger. If I'm edging, 99% of the time I'm just using my weed eater. If I got a lot, I'll use this thing. It works good. I've honestly, if you buy any Edger nowadays, they're gonna work fine. They do their job really good. They do one thing and they do it great. So you really can't go wrong with an Edger. But honestly, if you've been weed eating for a long time and been edging with your weed eater for a long time, and you don't have 20 miles of edging, you can get away with just doing it with a weed eater. But some people, you know, don't like that. So I can understand if you want to get an Edger. Another thing about my weed eater, which I'm sure you've already noticed, I take the guards off, and a lot of people do. And the reason we do that is so you can see better. And as you can see, I like making the string longer. I like my string to be about 7 or 8 inches long. It's just, you know, it's just the way I got used to weed eating and cutting and working with the weed eater. There are people who say that doing that, you know, it stresses the motor out. It makes the motor have to work harder to spin the head, which obviously it does, that's true. Therefore your weed eater wears out quicker. That's all right with me, it's worth it. Like I said, I'll generally get about 3 years out of a weed eater. That's fine to me. If I have to spend $600–700 every 3 years on a weed eater, I'm perfectly happy with that, because, you know, they put in the work, they make me the money. And at the end of the day, I'd just rather use them with the string longer, the head off. It makes weed eating go so much quicker. You can see what you're doing when you're edging. That guard doesn't get in the way. And the only thing that guard does is protect you, the user, your legs, from getting hit. So, you know, you can still have that guard on and break a window or hit somebody's car. That guard's just gonna keep stuff from hitting you. Which is nice, but I've just gotten used to all the stuff hitting me, so I don't care too much. I think I've covered a lot. Like that's my main equipment. I'll pull my push mower out. This is an Echo push mower. If you can't tell, I like the Echo stuff. I guess I should go ahead and say I'm not sponsored by Echo in any way. I'm not sponsored by any equipment at all. So, I mean, I wish I was. That'd be cool. Xmark, you know, give me a shout. Echo, same thing. Holler at your boy. But yeah, this is my Echo lawnmower. I am in love with this thing. Echo LM211 9SP, 190 cc's. This is without a doubt the best push mower I've ever used in my life. I've had it for about 1.5 years and I've mowed. I push mow maybe 5, depending on the weeks, because I have some 2-week lawns. So I push mow maybe 5 to 10 backyards every week. And this thing is just amazing. Before this, I used to have the Honda push mower. I don't remember the model number, but if you've been in the business, you know exactly what Honda push mower I'm talking about. It's the little red and black Honda you see on every mow truck, with the gray bagger. And I mean, I'll say that Honda worked good. I had that for about 3 years. And it only broke on me. It was user error. It was my fault. I was mowing a really tall backyard, an overgrown backyard, and I hit a cinder block with it, and because I couldn't see it, and it actually bent the shaft of the engine. So to fix it, I was just gonna have to get a new engine for it, which obviously I'm not doing that. It's more expensive than buying a new mower. And that, again, that's nothing on that Honda. That's user error. That Honda did great. My only gripe about the Honda, I think the Honda's only about 150 cc or so. So it'd get into some things where it just couldn't cut, or you'd have to double cut yards, or you'd have to raise the deck up real high to cut some tall stuff. And that was really my only gripe with the Honda. And it didn't have a side chute either. It shot out the back, or you had to bag it, and that was super annoying. But in my area, and I think pretty much in everybody's areas, those gas-powered Hondas, they're not making them anymore. I guess regulations, whatever. So when mine broke, I couldn't actually buy a new one because they don't have any new ones. They have battery-powered ones, and I don't have faith. As a commercial lawnmower, I don't have faith in battery power yet to keep me going all day. So that Honda broke, and I got this Echo, and like I said, I love this lawnmower. It's 190 cc. I've yet to cut anything with this that this can't cut. I mean, I've cut grass 6 inches, a foot and a half tall with this thing, and it powers through. This engine, this Briggs & Stratton 190 cc is a beast. And with the bagger on it especially, you can cut grass 2 feet high. Now you're gonna have to be emptying that bagger pretty frequently, but it cuts like butter. Most of the time I'm not even mulching. I just have my side shoot, and that does good. As long as the grass isn't real overgrown, that's all you need. The height setting on this thing is really easy. Just lift up and down. I can do it with one hand practically, so that's nice. I really like the fold. The other complaint about my Honda was the way you folded it and stored it in a trailer. A lot of times these washers and things would break on the Honda. I probably replaced my washer setup on my Honda like 3 or 4 times in the short amount of time I had it. But these I've never had a problem with. Lifting these, getting these up, and you know, putting it in storage mode for my trailer. Never had an issue with those breaking or anything. And the only thing, sometimes this one will kind of just not engage, you know, and I just gotta play with it a little bit until it does. Now my one complaint about this lawnmower is that when, you know, it's a self-propelled, so you push this thing to drive your speed, and it's got a transmission in it, obviously, front and reverse, or just, I guess, forward and then neutral, so you can back up. And sometimes it only happens when it's turned on, and I'm not going to do that because it'll be super loud. Sometimes you'll be going forward and then you'll want to back up, and the back wheels will still kind of be like wanting to go forward, like they'll be locked up, and you kind of have to push it forward and back and reset it, you know, to kind of get it to where it'll back up. Kind of hard to explain, but if you use the lawnmower, you would know what I'm talking about. That's not the biggest deal to me. I mean, it's something, especially as I've used it more and more, that doesn't happen very often. I kind of just gotten used to the way I have to kind of pull it back and make sure, you know, the tranny's fully disengaged before we're going in reverse. But that's my only complaint about it. And this is a newer model of mower, so Echo's got time to, you know, fix that kind of stuff up. So hopefully that they're aware that that's an issue and they work on it. But other than that, great lawnmower. Also the gas tank's pretty small. I mean, it's just because it's 190 cc. This thing, generally I'm filling it up after every 2 yards, which is not a big deal. But you know, that Honda, I could probably run it like 3-ish yards and not have to fill it up. But it does use a little more gas, but it's a 190 cc, so that's to be expected. But yeah, this is the best push mower I've ever had. This is a push mower I would recommend to everybody. You don't need one of those big commercial push mowers. If you got one, great, love it, happy for you. But I don't like those big commercial ones. They're heavy, they're annoying to have to load on a trailer and strap down. They're heavy, you know, they're humongous, and I know I'm just repeating the same things, but it's like they're just so big. And I used to use those for companies all the time, and they drove me nuts just to get, you know, some extra stripe in your backyard or whatever. Those mowers are not worth it to me. And yeah, they're generally bigger, you know, they're wider, have a wider deck, so I guess you can technically cut faster. But on a backyard you're push mowing, you're not going to be saving that much time anyways, and those things are so expensive, and I ain't never worked for a company where they're not breaking down every couple weeks. So just get you a basic push mower, something with a good sized engine in it. Doesn't have to be this Echo, but I recommend this Echo because it's a beast. And then I guess we'll talk about the trailer. So I just got a 12-foot Intrepid trailer. It's great. I wanted an enclosed trailer just because I don't have great garage space in my backyard for putting mowers and stuff, so I wanted just something I could lock up and have all of my equipment in here. So, you know, I got just your landscaping tools, hedge trimmer. I use a lot of DeWalt battery powered stuff because I had a lot of DeWalt batteries. So I used to do construction, so I just kind of stuck with the DeWalt platform. I got one of their pole trimmers. This thing gets up to I think like 15 feet long with these attachments. That thing works great. Well, it's not a trimmer, it's a chainsaw. I got, let's see, I can't remember what model this is. This is a battery powered chainsaw. This thing works really well, but I will say I don't cut a whole lot. If you're cutting down trees all day, I mean, you already know these battery powered chainsaws they just don't cut it. But you know, if you have a customer every once in a while say, hey, I need that limb cut off, or after storms, you know, the branches fall and you got to clean some stuff up, the battery powered ones have always served me pretty well. But again, I mean, I'm not doing a ton of tree, I don't really do tree removal unless they're small, and I'm not doing a whole lot of log cutting and stuff like that. So the stuff I use my chainsaws for is like really you know, low workload kind of stuff. So these work for what I got. If you're going to be cutting trees down all day, you already know those battery ones don't cut it. I just got, you know, shelves with stuff. I got a bunch of random tools in here, just things I may need. And like I said, I kind of do handyman work in the winter time, so you might see some like constructionist type tools around here. Yeah, again, here's this, I made this thing, again, just another tool rack I made. I figured I could just make one instead of buying one, and it works well enough. Scoop shovel, you know, you got your rakes, shovels, just, you know, you got customers wanting you to do cleanup, so you make sure, you know, you always have tools and stuff like that. Got your seed spreader for seed and weed and feed and all that stuff. But like most of 80% of what I do is lawn mowing, so most everything I do is just has to do with grass. I'll do some mulch every now and again, and you know, some stuff like that, but most everything I do is cutting grass. And I guess we can look at the truck too. I got a Nissan Titan SV. It's a 2011, and I love this truck. I've had every model of truck you can think of. Well, not every model, but I've had a Chevy, I've had Fords, I've had Dodges, and honestly, this Nissan Titan has been my favorite truck I've ever owned. I mean, to each their own with trucks, but all I'm going to say is don't knock these until you try them, because they've been doing real good for me. And you look at their prices compared to other truck prices, they're pretty dang cheap because nobody likes them for some reason. But yeah, I think I've pretty much covered all my bases. If y'all got any questions, you know, feel free to ask them in the comments and I'll answer anything y'all want to talk about. But just this right here, what you see, plus the blower, that's all you need to get started. And you don't even need this big boy mower. You got a push mower, a weed eater, and a blower. You can get started mowing lawns. I mean, you may not, you know, be able to stripe, whatever. You usually need a big mower to stripe, but like, to be honest, most people don't care about striping. When you get into the big neighborhoods with all the, you know, people who are competing with their neighbors and they all got the backyard pools and the big 1 acre front lawns, yeah, all those people, you know, they want it to be striped, they want it to look nice. But you go into some of these smaller neighborhoods, you can get a ton of work just push mowing yards, you know, $30, $50 a lawn depending on what the size is. And you can make a lot of money and save up and get yourself a big mower. And there's some people who just never get a big mower and they just push mow all the time. So this is an easy business to get into. You don't need a whole lot. You just need a vehicle, a push mower, a weed eater, and a blower. And if you can do that, you can get your foot in the door, get some customers, you know, that's all you need. That is all you need to get started. And I would say anybody who's thinking about it, just do it. You know, if it's just you mowing a couple yards on the weekend in between you working, just get in on it, get your foot in the door, and show people that you show up and you do good work, and you'll never have a problem getting work. I guess I'll show you one thing just so everybody can kind of get on the same page with me. I'm a big believer in advertising. And as I say that, I don't have any flyers, but make you some business cards, make them stand out, and hand them out to people. I have business cards that just, you know, say my company, my name, and then I drew that picture, make them personal. Don't use AI. People can see that. They don't like it. Just, you know, put a good half day's work into designing something and making something that you can be proud of. And when you give it to people, they will look at it and they will see how much work you put into it, and that'll go a long way. Every single person I give my business card is just, they love it. And they say, oh my gosh, this is one of the best cards I've ever seen. You know, it's got the textures on it. And, you know, granted, I had to pay for these and they weren't cheap to get the pretty, you know, textures and everything, but I could tell you these have paid off because people remember stuff like this. You know, nowadays everybody's doing internet advertising and videos online and just trying to, you know, I mean, I get that's not lazy, but like it feels lazy when you just see an ad online, or somebody's come and put a door hanger on your door and giving you their business card. You know, who are you gonna hire? You're probably gonna hire the guy that's gone out and you can see he's trying to get business and he's putting money into it, and he's not, you know, just letting some ad online do the work for him. I'm not knocking all that. There are plenty of guys who just do online advertising and they've built million-dollar mowing empires off of it. But for me, and being just a one-man army, I found that's the best for me, is just kind of sticking to the door hangers and handing out business cards. And I'll do advertising on like Nextdoor on Facebook, but it's nothing I ever pay for. It's just me putting out an ad saying, you know, hey, this is my company, this is what I do. Holler at me if you want to get your yard mowed. But yeah, I hope I could be helpful to some people, and that's my equipment. You know, I kind of told you the things I do and don't like. I'd stay away from the new steel stuff until they kind of start to bring their quality back up. If you ask me, they're way too expensive for the crappy parts they're using. Echo stuff seems right on the money. It seems like they're really trying to break into this commercial business and really trying to impress a lot of us mowers, because they're making good equipment that actually works and that'll run for you. Anyways, y'all have a good day. God bless everybody. Happy Sunday. Don't work too hard today. Works for later on in the week. And yeah, y'all have a good one.